All right. It is Tuesday. We're back in the saddle here at MSP Initiative Live, our podcast edition, if you would. We bring back
Boom.
the dynamic duo, Mr. Ken Patterson. And
What?
here I am back in front of the camera, Georgie B. What's going on, Ken?
Man, hanging in there. I missed you. Alec definitely did a good job filling in, but is there really any replacing Mr. Bardisi? I don't know.
I'd say it's tough, tall order. Tall order. That's all I can say.
I know. Especially on these where we spend so much time just being Ken and George bouncing off each other. So
Well, there is a lot. I mean, technology space is always moving, but I feel like there's an extra lot of stuff happening today for some reason. Lots of announcements, lots of money going around. I mean, there's just all sorts of stuff happening.
yes, there is. It seems like every morning I get a lovely email from Joe Panettiere pointing out the MSSP world and the acquisitions. And it's like, man, used to be maybe one a week. Now it seems like we're getting one every day.
Yeah, no, I mean, Joe is. I feel like he's busier now than he's been in a bit, right? It was. I felt like it was calm for a bit, and now it's happening.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, let's actually just hit on that to start, right? I mean, two big funding announcements today, both promoted by Joe P and others, I'm sure. First, we have Atara.
Atara, yep.
I mean, how much do you know about Atara? I didn't realize that they're saying they have something like 6,000 transacting customers, which don't just include MSPs. They include actual small businesses, internal IT, and MSPs. But 6,000 right now, that's more than I thought.
Yeah, that's a lot more than I would have thought too. I mean, everything I had heard about them being a kind of an up and comer in the space, but at 6,000, you're a little more than an up and comer.
Well, I mean, but again, it's that combined revenue, right? Like,
Yeah, sure.
like if I feel like there's this, what's the best way to say it? That the channel only approach has becoming few and far between, I feel like.
Yeah, in some cases, I see exactly what you're saying there. And you're right. It's possible that, 80% of that could be non-channel, right? And then that 6,000 number doesn't look so big.
Right. Let's say they only have 1,000 MSPs, like that.
Yeah. And I was kind of surprised by that number compared to how many integrations they have.
Yeah, their integration list is needing some love.
Fairly short. Yeah, exactly. So, and maybe they're being selective. I mean, there's something to be said about being selective on your integrations and being methodical. But I just thought the 6,000 number compared to the number of integrations they had was a little off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they raised 25 big ones, 25 million.
Listen, that'll pay some bills.
I mean, that's a lot of change.
So that's a lot of lunches, George.
And bus tours. Maybe we should give him a call. Now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, no, that's a lot of money. It's their first. I mean, it is their round A or Series A or first big chunk, whatever you want to call it. They've been around for a while. I didn't realize that they've been around since
they come up. So even over the last 2 years, when we do surveys on what MSPs are using at the events, they have come up quite a bit. Like people have thrown it out there as another alternative, and we're like, Atara, okay, that's interesting. Maybe we'll take a look at that. But you don't see, it's not something you hear in the space though. When you're talking in community chats and we're going, when we're doing these things in the community, it's very rare that I hear someone mention Atara or that Atara.
I mean, we've definitely heard. I mean, listen, there's Harmony, which I believe was just acquired by one of the distributors, was the Tech Data Ingram.
Yep.
Out of the UK. I mean, Synchro MSP seems to be.
Oh, Synchro's. Yeah, that's the one that everybody's jumping on because they're small, agile. I mean, they have their limitations right now. I'm told, and again, I'm not trying to pigeonhole them or put anything, but I'm told if you get over 500 endpoints, you have to start looking else. That's when you have to start looking at larger companies like that. But they're moving at such a fast pace that I'm guessing that won't be a limitation for long.
And then, of course, you still have the incumbents, right? You Connect
Right.
Datto slash
Of
Auto.
course.
I mean, but there, you have ServiceNow coming down, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're still very much for the large organization. I don't see them even as far down as the medium-sized ones, in my opinion. But like super mega guys have been looking at ServiceNow. Salesforce and their Service Cloud is up there. They're trying to get into the game a bit more than they usually are.
Right.
Um,
So let's
I've
roll
even
back to the funding.
yeah, 25 mil,
I
25 big.
find it important that it's always so funny how everybody gets excited about the number, right? Oh, these guys got 25 million. These guys got 100 million. What are they going to do with it? Like I love to see someone say, we got 25 million and this is what we're doing with it, right? So it at least gives the community an idea of where that 25 million is going to go. So we have a roadmap of what they're going to do with it. It's very rare that you see a company who gets that kind of funding put out that roadmap and at least show where it's going. And I also find it kind of weird that no one's asking. Like that would be the first thing. Okay, Atara is up and coming. That's really good. But is that 25 million going into the channel community? Are they building out? Are they gonna, spend more on their ramp up? If something like that happened to Synchro, I would think that the first thing they would be looking at is expanding the fact that right now, because of their size, they're limited to getting up to 1,000 seats, right? Or 2,000 seats or 3,000 seats. I would think that would be their roadmap. With Atera, I don't really know where they sit other than we know they need more integrations. And hopefully they need to be more channel. I'd like to know what that divide between direct and channel is. But
I mean, listen,
where's it going?
They put a number out, right? Like we don't know
Right.
what the split is. I think they did mention. I think there may. I actually was digging into Joe P's article on it. They did say that R&D, expanding sales force, marketing, going into new territories. I mean, a lot of it's definitely growth driven, I think. But I mean, you know the space, right? If you stop developing, you're gonna be a lame duck in the water, right? So I got to think a
Yeah.
large chunk of their money is going to be to continue to build out the platform.
R&D is such a vague term, though.
Development, product
Especially for a company like
enhancement.
get a little granular, where is the R&D going to be? Is it going to be into the community? As you know, I'm a community guy, so I always say, are you putting an investment into the community? That's what matters most from an MSP perspective.
Well, and again, it comes back to, we said they got 6,000, or that's the number they put out, 6,000
Right.
transacting customers. What's the split up between the three scenarios, right? They said internal IT, they said end customers just subscribe directly, and they say MSPs, right? Is MSPs 33%? Is it 50%? Is it 10%? I mean, that's going to be a large question on where their money is, but
100%. And hey, if it's a low number, but you want to make it bigger, okay, that appeals to me. If you're saying, if they're being honest and saying, yeah, we have 6,000, but 1,000 of those are MSPs, and we're looking to grow that, and the money is going to go towards how we grow that, that to me would be appealing. At least I understand, okay, they're trying to build that up. And oh, by the way, what are they doing to protect the MSPs from their other customers that they go direct to?
this is the age-old challenge, right?
Right.
The direct versus channel conflict. Right?
Yep. 100%.
The other big funding announcement that came today, and also another head nod to our buddy Joe P, Channel EDE, is Electric.ai. This is an MSP based out of New York. I'm surprised they haven't moved out of New York. New York residents. But taxes is high and state's coming after everyone. So we hear. But Electric.ai, there's been a little bit of noise around this company for a while, right? They've come into this whole, or at least they claim, zero touch sign up, right? Where they automated more than 80% of the daily tasks that otherwise would be done by human beings in a normal MSP. I mean, listen, I know our buddy Reese down from TechVera has checked it out a little bit in the past. I've not seen it personally, so I don't know how far it actually goes. According to, they got $40 million. They have done a couple of acquisitions of other MSPs in New York, but it seems like a lot of that money is earmarked for this automation platform that they claim to have, right?
As it should be.
No.
If this is the push forward to, I mean, Listen, you know as well as I do, if it does what it's supposed to do and doesn't have vulnerabilities because of what it does, it's going to fly off the shelf. People are going to go crazy over it because every MSP is looking for a way to be more efficient.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right from Joe's article, I mean, these numbers are not small. Okay. From 2018 to 2020, it's 2 years, 525% growth in the MSP. Revenue and headcount almost doubled. MSP supports more than 400 customers, which collectively account for 20,000 users.
Nice.
Apparently, they're supporting 20,000 users with only 100 technicians. Talk about the
ratio, right?
The ratios. That's big.
Yep. Yeah. No, if you got that kind of money to back up something like that, you can only expect good things. That's I haven't had a chance to even look at it. Clearly, I'm on the different side now, but I would trust what Reese says, and maybe we have them. Maybe we have Reese or some other folks that have tried it or looked at it, and get them on a show and discuss it. I think that would be a cool thing to talk about and see where they're at and see if it's worth, everybody taking a look at, right? Pointing people in the right direction, because
this is an interesting line now, right here.
Yeah.
Roughly 70% of Electric's business, the name of this company, Electric, in 2020. So 70% of their wins, new business in 2020, involved end customers that had not previously worked with an MSP.
Huh. Really? That's interesting.
So we've heard, oh, well, I've heard a lot of the talking heads, and I could name them, but I'm not going to. Maybe if people pay attention, if they need an MSP, they have one already. The addressable market of people out there for MSPs is gone, and that's why there's all these mergers and acquisitions, and that's why there's just not a lot of net new customers for MSPs. This says completely the opposite.
100%. And again, if this is all true, this is really, really good stuff, and it's really good that they got this funding, because it's going to all head in that right direction. I mean, 70%. Yikes. That is crazy. Going from no MSP whatsoever to this brand new model.
Now, here are the underlying, they didn't develop everything, right? They're saying here are the partners that sit underneath their platform, or at least some of them, right? Apple, JamF, which is
JamF, yeah.
JamF is like an RMM for Apple kind of thing.
Yep.
Kaseya, we know that name well. Cisco Meraki, been around for some time. Microsoft Teams, pretty familiar. Slack, and Ubiquity Networks are sitting underneath of this automation platform they built.
Interesting.
But I still think so think about this. You have two companies, right? You have the software company raising 25 million. You have the MSP raising 40 million, but in reality, the MSP is really a software company.
Right.
The money that they raise is to continue the software effort that ultimately helps the MSP sales, right?
Right.
So software is the name to the game, it sounds like.
Yeah, I would. I mean, when you think of everything, right? I'll use your quotes, everything going to the cloud. Yeah, now you're talking about more than just software. You're talking about cloud software. You're talking about agility, right? But I find this interesting is that most of what you just mentioned wasn't really cloud products.
Atara is definitely cloud delivered. You can't install that on premise.
No, I'm talking about the tools that Electric.
Oh, the tools that we mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. Tools. Yeah. And not all of that is cloud based. Maybe parts of them are, but and it's interesting to note that. I wonder what their secret sauce is. If you have all those other tools under the hood, I know those tools fairly well. I don't see it being. The secret sauce that connects them and does this automation.
Well, I think the correct terminology is orchestration, right? Like they're taking a lot of different products and they've built a interface or a way for users to interact.
Yeah, right. Kind of like the old days when software companies used to build middleware.
Correct.
Same idea. When I had the development company side of my business that we owned, we used to build middleware for larger technologies to connect to each other. And we held that kind of niche market because nobody else was doing it. We were taking these two big products and doing that middleware and connecting them up and then allowing both those products to go to the clients, which happened to be at the time prisons, as we've discussed in the past. So it's kind of like that middleware that connects all that stuff up and allows the people to use them. It'll be interesting to see how that all pulls together. The problem is that when you have that many different products under the hood, if any one of them goes awry, does it throw the whole thing off?
Well, I'm sure that on top of their normal 100 engineers, right, which would
Right.
be the guys in anybody's help desk, or obviously everybody has a different talent level, everybody has a different knowledge level. Put all those guys aside. There's got to be a portion of their staff that's basically, bug fixing, software escalation, right? Like if that's in the middle of everything, there's got to be somebody, watching the nuclear power plant knob, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not, but I'm just saying it's stuff that's out of their control. They can control their middleware piece, like all those pieces, but something bad happens to Ubiquity, like something that did happen not too long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something takes out one of these products. How does that affect this automation, the flow, if you're pulling all these things together? I mean, it's a question that I'm sure they've asked, and but these are the things that I think about if I was an MSP and I was thinking about doing something like this or being a part of something like this. I think about all the pieces, separate pieces.
Sure. Well, but
down, what would that do? What's the effect?
But to be honest with you, there's a lot, like, coming back to the whole big picture. There's no, I still don't, I can't comprehend it. Like if I called these guys as an end customer looking for IT services and everything I'm using is everything they're not.
Right.
Then what? Right? Like there's got to be a standardization that happens in order for them to adopt these customers.
Well, maybe they're doing the same thing like a Reese at Techvera, where they don't take on clients that don't use their stack. It's their stack. It's the old, it's my way or the highway mentality. And their way of doing it is they say, look, if you want us to provide the best services possible, we have to use the products that we feel are the best best in class. So they build their stack and that's what they sell. So if they're using a different firewall, they have a plan to remove that firewall and put their new, the firewall that they support in. So yeah. I could see that being the case, but I agree with you in a sense that how in the world did they grow the numbers the way they did by saying, this is our stack, you're using this stack, other than the fact that we also said 70% of these didn't have an MSP in place in the first place. So maybe they didn't even have a stack.
Here you go, right? Same apps, better support, more than 200 SaaS apps.
Huh. That's
I mean, it's a lot of apps.
Wow.
Yeah. Like look, this is their core platform, right? We talked about these guys up here. And then you scroll all the way to the bottom, like, oh, we support over 200 plus SaaS apps. That's a lot of SaaS apps.
That's interesting.
So, I don't know.
You're welcome, Electric. You're welcome for the plug.
Yeah, no, hey, hey, listen, you see a lot of money getting thrown around.
Yeah.
Having a conversation about it, right?
No, I think it's piqued my interest even more because I didn't have a chance to fully dig into it like I normally don't on the same day. Like I'm blowing through, I'm looking, I'm saying, oh, wow. All right, check out the funding. Yeah, this is kind of cool. Atera, I know a little bit more about. I hadn't heard of Electric up until this article, so I know a little bit more from that standpoint. But yeah, now you've piqued my interest. Now it's okay. How are they doing this?
It's almost like they're trying to take a PAX8 style approach to MSP.
Right. Well, yeah, you're right. I like the idea of that, the way they're doing it. It's just, are they pulling it off? Is it all working? It looks like it from a numbers standpoint.
I was going to say, from the outside, it looks good through the window.
Yes.
$40 million means there's a lot of work to do, I think.
Yeah. Well, either that or a lot of lunches. We talked about that. They want to.
Yeah, I got you. So, moving. Well, this brings me to the topic of, like, There's no such thing. I've never seen it successfully happen. I mean, not that it hasn't been tried, by the way. I didn't just make this up. This whole, I'm just going to go to somebody's website and I'm going to sign up and it's just going to happen. And like, I have my price in my checkout, like that whole experience from an MSP standpoint. I don't think that's realistic. You have no idea the health and the disaster in the closet and the spaghetti underneath the desk that you're going to adopt if somebody just goes to your website and says, how many users? 100? Sign here.
Yeah.
I don't see that, man.
No, I don't see that either. I mean, that's what I mean by, if it works, how it works. What are all those little pieces that we all know that we deal with on a daily basis? There's no way that's happening. Usually the companies that do that are the ones that have all the problems, the failures, and, they lose money because they stepped in and said, oh, they're paying us $10,000 a month. But yeah, they didn't tell you about the 20,000 worth of problems that, they're going to be on top of you for. So it'll be interesting to see. It's definitely now out there in the wild, and we're definitely going to pay a lot more attention to this company. It will be very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. So let's flip topics.
Speaking of money, is that where you're going?
Like, okay, so here's my story. This wraps up into the bigger thing about the big vendors just don't give a damn. I got a couple of customer servicey things that have happened recently that just really bubble because, like, listen, we're all in service-based businesses. We understand that, like, you can't ignore people and you actually have to resolve issues. Nobody's hiding from anything. I surely don't like hiding from anything. I'd rather just get it over with. If it's going to hurt, just make it hurt once, right? But a couple things. One, like, the cell phone companies are freaking horrible. Okay. How do you go? Number one, it took me 6 hours in an AT&T store over 2 days to transfer an account from Verizon to AT&T because Verizon was even worse. And then, like, we sent the phones back to get the, credit, right? To play this game where, like, oh, you're not in a contract, but, we're going to refund you over 2 years, right? Okay, I got you. It's a game. I sent you back the devices with your label, and then you lost it, and now it's my problem. Why? Why is that right?
Yeah.
Listen,
you don't have good experience with cell phone providers in general. We definitely don't want to get into how you basically got berated and then had it spun around on you when you were in the store, which is why you ended up at AT&T. I listen. They are so all of them are interesting. I mean, I listen. We can go all the way to how do they get away with saying they have 5G when it's really not happening.
Oh, it's like forget. It's literally just like took one label off your cell phone, put another label on, and all of a sudden it's 5G.
And they're telling everybody they got 5G, and you're looking at it like, okay, there really isn't any 5G. And then they're saying we have the best 5G in the business. Well, I guess you can claim that because if there's no 5G, then yours is better than, I don't know. So yeah, it starts there. It's all just a complete scam. And here's an interesting take on this. Since we're talking about these phone things, my mother-in-law, she's an elderly woman. She can't use a smartphone, right? She just doesn't. She's always had a flip phone. Well, her flip phone broke. Well, they always try to push you into a smartphone. They did it to all of us, right? Initially, we didn't all say we wanted smartphones. It was like, really? I got to get this thing. And we got pushed into it, and now everybody has one. Well, not my mother-in-law. And so my wife calls and says, I need a phone for an elderly person. Well, we don't have that. What do you mean you don't have that? So we spent like weeks. My poor mother-in-law's phone's busted, and she has trouble calling back and forth. So we're working with the regular phone, all this stuff. And finally, my wife goes out, finds one on her own, calls AT&T and says, I want this phone. And it was a flip phone that they had. It's like, why couldn't they just point us in that direction in the first place? Like, there are all these other services for elderly phones that you can pick up and do, but I didn't want to have to do the separate bill. I didn't want to have to start something, separate.
Listen, when we're in a business, right, where like one phone call doesn't do it, right? You're kind of in a relationship with people. There's a lot to it. You go to a cell phone store, the idea is that they finish the transaction and never see you again, unless they screw up, which in my case seems to always happen. It's just a different business, but they just don't care. They do not care. Like, there's nobody there. unless you literally call every single day until you find somebody who actually just wants to get you to stop calling. Like you
Right.
have to work hard to overcome the problems of the big company.
Oh yeah, the managers can disappear and then nobody cares what's going on. And it's like, wait a minute, I was talking to a manager yesterday who told me to come back today and they'd be here. And now they're not here and you can't do anything. And they also don't empower their people. There's only certain people that can get stuff done. And they do that for a reason because they don't want anybody to be able to help you and get
intentional traffic jams.
Right. They basically, and then those poor people are the ones dealing with guys like us who are in the store like, what are you talking about? And then in the back of my mind, I know, you know what, this poor person didn't get empowered. They have no power whatsoever. And they do that intentionally so that you can't ask them for stuff that they may give you and make you happy, by the way.
For the hand, like literally on one hand, I can count the IT companies or MSPs that have tried to resell cell phone service.
Oh,
well, it's like at that point, it's like, why?
I actually, yeah, I was asking that question because I saw somebody that we both know just got certified to sell cell phones and was trying to figure out how to hire a salesperson to do that stuff. And it's just like, I get it. You're trying to find new revenue streams and you're doing repair and you have all this stuff, but man, I still think it's a race to the bottom when you start doing that stuff.
Well, here's your race to the bottom. Here's a tip for all you guys out there. If you're dealing with any municipalities or any sort of first responders, right? Like fire department, EMS, police station, whatever. T-Mobile last year rolled out a 10-year program where they will provide cell phone service to any first responder for free for 10 years. Free. So if you're looking to get into that industry, there's a way to save some of their money, right? And help them spend on managed services. You literally cut their cell phone bill and switch it over, right? Start sending what you're selling, but free for 10 years.
How do you compete?
And they also rolled out for schools free for 5 years.
Wow.
Talk about buying market share. Now that's assuming the service actually works and the signal's there, but
I don't know. T-Mobile bought Sprint and now they have the most coverage. See, I can listen to commercials, right?
I will admit, on the tour, T-Mobile was the best on the highway.
Yeah, it actually did work pretty well. It did work. I got to give credit where credit is due.
Now, once you got off the road, different story, but they're pretty good on the highway. So for whatever it's worth. But yeah, on to another customer servicey thing. So check this out. Like, I love how everybody's trying to, first of all, big props to BNG/Connect Booster. If you guys have never heard of that company, check them out. They have a pretty cool service.
You want to get paid? Call them.
Literally, if you want to actually get the money in your bank account, you might want to try and. So here's my story, right? Like, we sign up for a PayPal account because, like, we think, oh, this is quick and easy, right? Everybody has PayPal. You send the message and they hit pay and put their credit card number in, and money shows up in your account. Not so much, sir. Not so much. So we started a PayPal account because we were starting this new business entity. Start sending out these PayPal invoices because we think it's easy. All of a sudden, PayPal's telling us they're going to hold up those transactions from being available for 21 to 60 days. 21 to 60 days.
Like, does that affect cash flow? I'm just curious.
Like 21 to 60 days. So after like trying to dick around with their portal, which is supposed to be so easy a caveman can do it, wrong.
No, that's Geico.
You actually have to Google, by the way, their phone number because they don't have it listed anywhere. And you actually get somebody on the phone from India. Surprise. And like, basically they're like, yeah, sorry, there's nothing you can do. Okay. So what can we do to unwind this? Refund everybody and go somewhere else. They literally tell you, go somewhere else. I can't comprehend this, right? We're in 2021. Everybody's trying to make a dime. And they're like, nope. Yeah. Okay. Fine, Mr. PayPal call center India person. Let's refund everything somewhere else. Who is that somewhere else for us? BNG/Connect Booster. Man, they got us up and running. Swear to God. In like a day and a half.
A weekend.
We ran the same transactions that PayPal was going to hold us up 21 to 60 days. It was in our bank account the next day. It was like I couldn't couldn't even understand how we were in this position. They hooked us up. And I'm going to tell you, yeah, exactly. But I just want to point out, so what happened? When we went to go refund these people back through PayPal, they said, check this. Look how fraudulent this is. They said, well, when you first collected this money, we charged you the transaction fees. I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, we're not refunding you the transaction fees. I'm like, no, hold on a second. If I send you a package and the package never makes it to the other side, you didn't do your job. Why am I paying you for the delivery fee? That doesn't make sense. Okay, sir, we'll refund you the transaction fees. I'm like, hold on, the damage is done. Because when I went to go refund these people, based on what you told me to do, refund everybody and go somewhere else, you went into my bank account to withdraw money that you never deposited. How does that work? How does that make sense? Well, sir, because the money in your PayPal balance wasn't there, we just decided to go into your bank account and pull it. It's like, what, since when? Why does that make sense? Like, literally the absolute worst. How many times have you said, I'm sure everybody's said it, well, if I ran my business that way, I'd be out of business.
Right.
I literally can't comprehend how big company these people are to the point where they just don't care. They're literally telling you to go somewhere else.
There is so much of that, which is why I feel like I don't get, it's such an easy thing to do, to just care, just even care. You don't even have to get everything right. Just care. I mean, I've been dealing with that, I'm not going to go into detail. It has nothing to do with even technology. It's just, I had flooring being done and nobody cared. Not one person I spoke to cared. My kitchen, my bathroom, I have no kitchen, no bathroom, all torn apart. And they're like, yeah, well, you're going to have to pick a new product and it could take 4 to 6 weeks to get the new product. And it's like, what, are you going home to a nice kitchen and a nice bathroom? When you go home, you have a place to go, use a restroom. Can you cook stuff in your stove in your kitchen? I can't. And you're saying 4 to 6 weeks and sorry. And then people don't answer the phone. And it just cracks me up to think that I know that most MSPs have pretty good customer service, and yet we're the industry that everybody questions. It blows my mind. And then when I talk to a person, you know what they say to me? I've been in the construction business for 20 years, and this is how construction works. I'm like, hold on. I'm just going to tell you, I've been in business for 30 plus years, and this is not how business works. You try to make the customer happy. You try to help them. You work with them on the problem. You don't just ignore it and say, that's construction, and that's it. That's not how it works. I mean, we could say that, how easy that would be to say about computers. Hey, it's electronics. They fail all the time.
Hey, you got hacked. It happens. What can I do?
It happens. We'll see you. It blows my mind just across industries how bad customer service is as a whole. And then when I, then I hear your stories. I think what you and I have this, we talked about this. We have this cloud of customer service that hits us up.
Black cloud status.
Right, exactly. But it's truly amazing to see how across industries, I believe our industry does it best. And we're usually the ones hit the hardest with the complaint from the complaint side.
Well, let's face it. You don't have to go very far in our industry to get I call it keyboard muscles. Okay. I mean, Reddit and Facebook and Discord, Slack. You don't have to go far to stumble over the freaking rant. Just straight up, just fiery rant. And listen, you see it all the time with vendors that are specifically supposed to be designed for for our industry, right? Managed services, IT services, help desk, whatever. Listen, there's two sides to every story.
Right, sure.
But I think on one side, it's if you actually care just a little bit and didn't ghost people, actually answer your phones, actually answer your emails, actually tell me not to go do business somewhere else. But on the MSP side, there's also hey guys, this isn't instant too, right?
Right.
If you expect it to happen that very second, and if not, you're going to cancel everything. That doesn't make sense.
It takes both sides.
If that's your mentality, you're going to be flipping vendors every month. And
it takes both sides. We know that happens, right? It takes both sides working together to make this happen. And I find it funny when, especially now that I've kind of, been on both sides, you're always on both sides. And I know Brent has a great comment here. We'll get to that in a second. But now that I've been on both sides, I find it funny that MSPs will go nuts about their customers saying something bad about them over some one-off incident. And at the same time, they go out and blast the vendors on doing the same thing. And it's like this circle of
I call it the death circle.
olive, right? Exactly. And for me, it's like, guys, girls, let's work together here. There's no reason for any of this. People make mistakes. We're all human. It's how you deal with those mistakes that separates you from the bad businesses, the ones that are going to ghost you, that are not going to help you, that just never had any intention of doing the right thing.
Right. Like when the PayPal customer service manager, who's in
Right.
another country, said, hey, we get it. It wasn't a great experience. We'll refund you. We'll fix it. Look, here's what we're going to do. Not, oh no, just dispute it through
Right.
your bank.
You do all the work and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I like Brent's comments pretty good there, George.
Said, this reminds me of something I thought of years ago. You don't have to like your customers. You just have to not hate them. But listen, Brent, to your point, by the way, I got to get back to you on your newsletter. I still have it up on my email I was going to send you. But to your point, yeah, listen, you don't have to go and have a beer with every customer every day. Like if you deliver service, good service, and they pay their bill on time and everybody's getting something out of it, it's a win.
Yeah.
Listen, I would love to have a better relationship, but if that's not there and I'm going to do what I do and you're going to pay your bill and we're going to make it work, great. But there's also and we've all, like we could slice it a couple different ways. Pain in the ass tax customer, right? Where you jack up their bill because they're, you know that they're a disaster. Or maybe you cut a customer because literally they will not take any advice and
they're costing you more than you're making off them.
They'll do the opposite of everything you've ever told them. And they're picking out duct tape to keep their computer,
Right. Well, and nowadays, the reason why you cut a customer is if they're not going to follow security measures. That's
one of them.
About this. I don't care what anybody says. A disclaimer is not saving you. If they're not going to do what it takes to follow what you're recommending, send them on their way. Find a way to do it nicely. You don't have to say, you're fired and kick them off to the curb. You can do it nicely, and sometimes when you do that, they wake up. What do you mean? We've been working together for 20 years. I want to work with you. Maybe we should talk about this, but only if you do it in a nice way. Look, I think our companies are going in two different directions. I'm headed more down the security road, and we're trying to be more like the doctors of the industry. What we prescribe is something that you need. We're not trying to sell you on stuff, and we shouldn't have to sell you. So this is what it's going to be. This is what you need. If you're not going to go that direction, I think we have to part ways, and I'll help you. Find another break fix.
I think one of the biggest parts, the biggest problems, and again, going back to Verizon and AT&T, PayPal, and everyone, like if you can't meet people halfway, right?
Right.
Not just on the resolution side, that's to be expected, but on the communication side, like I can't tell you how many times the customer, you told somebody something that's as clear as day. The sky is blue. They came back and said, I don't remember you saying that. Or I thought you said it was gray. What do you mean? I said one sentence. It was a statement. I didn't ask for commentary. This is it. And, like things go sideways, right? I can't so my best advice, I'm just going to be honest with you. And it may sound negative, but it is what it is. If you don't have a documented offboarding process in your service agreement, in your MSA, go back and have it rewritten, please. Please, please, please. Go back and put it in. Because I'm going to tell you right now, at some point the relationship ends, right? Like nothing lasts forever. Instead of people just assuming stuff, right? How many times did you get a customer cancel on you and they send you a document, they send you a letter signed saying, turn it off immediately. Okay. Well, immediately means immediately. Like there's no other way to decipher that word. It is what it is. Then all of a sudden they're like, why's my stuff not working?
Bye, Felicia.
You sent me a letter, said immediately. What else can you do? So like,
I get it. I get that. Yeah, that makes, and then listen, you're right. My old adage was off-board customers better than you onboard them. That you should be more white glove when you're removing a customer than when you bring them on. It's just that simple. You want that experience to be so good because guess what? they're going to find out the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So if you're doing a great job offboarding, everything's clean, and you did and the guys on the other end flub it up, there's a chance that that changes. So I agree with you 100% on that. To your point about about shut it off now, interesting story just came to mind. I had a company who was moving their servers, and they wanted to do it themselves. So they were going from Boston to New York, and oh no, this gets better, George. So I go through the whole thing. I'm like, that's fine. You know, you want us to disconnect it. You know, we can disconnect it. And then, oh, by the way, you know, what are you doing while you're moving it was their mail server, said mail server from Boston to New York? Oh no, we'll be good with that. We know all the, we know that we're going to have some downtime, whatever. I'm like, okay, great. They unplugged their mail server. They're not 10 minutes around the corner driving away from their spot. We get a phone call. Our mail's down. Yeah, no kidding. It's in the trunk of your car. Like I have it all documented. We have all the checkpoints that we said, you guys know this, you know that. And they still called and said their mail's down. Our CEO's losing his mind.
Inter-organizational communication disaster.
Yep. Didn't even tell anybody in your organization that the mail was going to be down. And it's in the trunk of a car on a 6-hour ride to New York.
I don't know. That guy's driving slow. I made it from Philly to Boston.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, which brings me to again, you don't have to go far to see the keyboard muscles. I saw a Facebook group, was it 2 days ago? I think you even may have liked it. Somebody's like, why go to the cloud instead of just putting this box in this customer's closet for $3,000? And I'm like, yeah, why would you put the on-prem Exchange server in 2021 instead of just signing up for Office 365 at $4 a mailbox? Why would I do it? Like, it just boggles my mind. They're like, but it's cheaper over time. I'm like, sure. I mean, but do you realize how much time it takes from you to keep this shit running? Like, on-prem Exchange servers, Patterson, I literally am bald from on-prem Exchange servers. Like, literally, like there's nothing left.
Right.
And like, yeah, like it just bothers me when I still see that stuff.
That was, that and small business server with Exchange built into it. Yes. So the bane of my existence. And then go back a little bit further when BPAWS was the beginning of what we have now, which is great. But funny that you should say about the posting. Somebody posted the other day about, am I going to get it? I don't know if it was LastPass. They were freaking out because LastPass one version wasn't going to be free, and they're losing their mind about it. And then somebody posted, yeah, that $2 is really going to hurt. And I was just like, I wanted to get on there and say,
by the way, let's just,
are we short-sighted here?
The LastPass thing was like, they're limiting you to sign in from one device. Like, it's not even totally being shut off.
Right.
Like, you can't sign in from the webpage and your cell phone at the same time.
Right.
Who cares?
Well, the bottom line of this is, when are we going to stop expecting shit to be free, especially something as important as password management? Password management next to MFA are the two most important things for protecting your business and your customer's business. Listen, if it was $5, if it was $10, I still wouldn't be freaking out about it because it's necessary. And if you're going to rely on free stuff to work and then expect when it doesn't work or have a problem to get support, it blows my mind to think that.
Well, this is actually an interesting topic. I wrote a blog that's coming out on this. Kind of. Is the NFR real, or does it ultimately bite you in the long run? Right.
Yeah. Right.
Like I went a lot of different ways with it, but then kind of thought on it, and hopefully you guys read it, is that the NFR is just a time trial.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. In the end, it is just a time trial. There's no unlimited and forever NFR. It doesn't exist.
Brent, the same guy complaining about LastPass is driving a car with $5,000 worth of tires and wheels.
Yeah, this is true. You're absolutely right, by the way. No, but like, I get everybody wants to test stuff, and I get everybody likes stuff that's free, but like, then there's production, right? Like, you're expecting stuff to run, and you're expecting to get help when it doesn't run.
Right.
You're not going to get that with the free service. And I love when the NFR plug gets pulled out from underneath the people, and then they go down unexpectedly, and then they're like, what happened?
Well, I mean, look at on the highest level, Microsoft's internal use, right? People,
You still have to pay for Action Pack.
right,
You still gotta
right.
pay for it.
You got to buy the action pack, right? So I just don't. I don't know. I get it. I know I was one of those smaller MSPs scrapping and trying to, but I never wanted to put myself or my customers at risk on a free product. Listen, how many free products have lived to stay free forever? Zero.
Well, hold on.
Or some bump.
Let's clarify for a second. What about Gmail? Yeah, like they're collecting data on you, packaging it, and selling it to other people. You are the product in the free product, right? Let's not be fair, or let's not be unreasonable.
How's your support with that?
Yeah, like, have you ever tried Googling the phone number for Gmail support? Nope. It's not gonna happen.
No. It's oh yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, it was like when Dropbox first came out and all these things, you know, you're trying to compare those to the ones that are still around, the ones that still work. I mean, Backupify has been around for a really long time, and they were competing against free versions of Dropbox back in the day. But where's Dropbox now? Well, it's Dropbox for Business, right? And you have to pay for it. And that's what it should be. Anything worth getting, you're gonna have to pay for. They have to pay their support people.
I'm not even trying to make the argument that you should shop to make sure that you have the right product for the right price.
Right.
Not even arguing that.
Right.
But they're free is never really free. There's no such free lunch. I know we've all heard that line before. Just think really hard before you either rely on something within your businesses, even under the guise of an NFR, which I argue you should never use an NFR in production, my opinion.
Oh no, in production, no way.
Oh yeah, I listen. If we were to survey the totality of the people that we deal with on a regular basis, and there's thousands of you, I guarantee you more than 50% are using some sort of product under an NFR in production. Guaranteed. I bet you hard cash.
We'll have to do a survey, George, pop it up on the screen and have people fill out the survey and see what those numbers are. But yeah, man, you get what you pay for, bottom line. And even a free lunch isn't free. Whoever's taking you for that free lunch wants something.
100%. So, I mean, but, you know, kind of circling back to the beginning of what we started with, which is number one, customer service, man. Like, don't be the big box guys. No matter how big you get, if you can't at least communicate in a okay fashion, time wise. Like I hate seeing it online, right? Hey, you know, I tried calling to cancel this or change this or do this, and we're like 3 months later and I haven't gotten a response. I hope that you tried more than once, but not that you should have to, but yeah, that's not good. And then you're not, you know, like it sucks that the big guys get to a point where they just don't care.
It's not just the big guys. There are just some companies that don't care. It really is it's a sad state of business as a whole. 100%. And then that's, you know, that's, like I said, I think our industry is better at it, but we have we have a lot more people who complain, which is just completely interesting. To your point about, I hope you did it more than once. If you're on social media spewing out about how bad a vendor is.
And I love the people who are like, oh, I just wrote a novel on Reddit, but I never actually picked up the phone.
Right. Didn't talk to somebody. Listen, as bad as any company is, there are people, well, for most of them, there's somebody that you can reach out to. And listen, I'll plug him because I think that he kind of set the standard. Rob Ray, for instance, no matter how bad things get with Datto, if you're online, like bawling them out and saying bad things, you haven't talked to Rob Ray yet. And he's the first guy to still troll all these pages and say, hey, sorry for your experience. Let's chat. Right. So, and I use Datto because they're one of the big boys, right? They've gotten larger and, you know, with growth comes growing pains and stuff like that. But if you're going online and bashing a company when you have people like Rob Ray, George Bardisi, me, like you're the problem because you haven't reached out to the people who could probably help you. And that's a bigger problem. It makes the industry just look bad when you have all these complaints without actually trying to get a real resolution. All you're trying to do is hurt a company. And that's not good for our industry as a whole.
Yeah, that's why I say keyboard muscles, right? But at the end of the day, so number one, customer service. Number two, actually give a damn. I don't know.
Right.
Number three,
don't hate your customers. No.
Don't hate your customers. You don't have to hate them to do business with them. This is true, but actually try to get along with people. And if it's not going to happen, there is a point where it doesn't make sense to try anymore, right?
Right.
There's a graceful way to get out of that rather than here's the middle finger, go somewhere else. Because that's what I got from PayPal. Yep, just go somewhere else. Don't do it here. Okay, well, don't not pay people their money back, by the way.
You know what you could do is you could send PayPal the book, The Pumpkin Plan, so they understand how to actually handle the customers that they don't want.
I wonder how long the shipping is to India, though, because that's so that's not, that's that. Hey, there's a lot of money coming out, which is interesting, right? I mean, I don't know if this is stuff that, it takes time for a lot of these deals to come through, right? Like you're not going to get funded in a month, I don't think. It's not like Shark Tank. And even with Shark Tank, by the way, they still have to vet those deals before they get paid. It's not just, it doesn't end on TV. So I got to think that some of these larger deals, larger deals started in 2020 and now they're just closing up, right? But a lot of money in the street. Our industry still seeing a lot of attention, right? Which in the form of dollars, right? Which is, I think, good, which means people are paying attention to what we're doing. It's nice. Hopefully that money gets spent well. See?
Well, speaking of Shark Tank, you have Herjavec in the news, right?
Robert Herjavec. Yeah.
Yep.
He
sold it. Yeah. I mean, that's a large, they are the MSSP, and so it just goes to show it's anybody. They're buying up anything they can.
Interesting. Brent comes in. He's like, we get into complaint mode because there are so few that seem to care. I agree. I'm not arguing. That's why I said, actually give a damn. This opens an opportunity for those who actually do care to go the extra mile. It takes time, but the message does get through. I agree, Brent. We've heard this line 1,000 times. Bad news always travels faster than good news.
Right. And by the way, as a small MSP or smaller MSP, when someone does that to you on Yelp or something like that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it gets deleted. It's like a tube of toothpaste. You squirt that toothpaste out and try to put it back in the tube. It doesn't go back in. It's always out there. So I say social media is the last line of defense to have that complaint out there. And believe me, there have been vendors who have drove me nuts as an MSP. But the last thing I was going to do is go on social media and plow them there. I would go at the people that I know up the line and usually get somebody who would.
By the time I've said something, I've gone 10 miles.
Right. You've exhausted everything.
I've gone like, my response to people are you the CEO of the company? Oh no. That means you have a supervisor, right? Put him on the phone, please.
Right.
Like until I get to the point where there's no return. And hey, I still got 6 minutes left. He's no longer, hold on. I'm not going to name the company. I'm not going to name the person, but there was a outsourced help desk company and they were messing up their bills. I went all the way to the CEO. I did. I had all my ducks in a row. I had it if I went into a court of law the next day, no question, black and white, there was no gray. And this guy was like, yeah, we disagree. And, if you don't like it, I guess you can go talk to my board of directors. Really? Okay. All right. Okay. Like that's a guy who didn't give a damn.
Right.
So I just, at some point it's better to just resolve it than have the bad blood out on the street. But I went all the way to the top. There was nowhere else. I guess I could have gone to the board of directors. I just don't think I would have gotten a response at that point, but
right. You're right.
I just want to point out though, I found out way after the fact that issue was happening to a lot of other people. I believe it is still happening. And this guy's no longer in the picture. He's gone. I wonder why.
Yeah.
So
it's true. Yeah, you can get to a certain point. And I agree with what Brent said to an extent. Like if nothing else is working, social media definitely does the push. Cause I know with, some of these larger retail type places, if they're not helping you and you go to Twitter, that's when they come out and start helping you.
That's a shame that that's the case, by the way.
Right. It's definitely true. I have seen it. Try not to resort to it because I know what goes on in our industry. But at the same time, I've talked to so many people who have said, yeah, this company completely, disregarded everything, lied, nothing's working, and there's just nothing left for me to do. And then they put it out on social and they're like, oh, let us help you. It's like, why did it take this?
I like going to the end, like with PayPal, back to PayPal. I was like, so your response to me was first, refund everybody and literally go to your competitors. I just want to confirm that is the outcome. That's what you're telling me to do, right? Number one. And then number two was, well, because I can't fix your issue, just dispute it and do the chargeback, and maybe that'll be faster for you. Like literally back-to-back responses from the same company that couldn't be the worst responses I've ever heard. They don't care. They don't care.
I think they hit a nerve, George. I don't know.
Black Cloud.
Black Cloud. Got you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it is what it is. But at least I try, man. I do.
Yeah.
I go 10 miles down the road. I overcompensate to try and resolve. It's got to be a two-way street. I think so, just a little bit. But yes, I have not resorted to any social media. I mean, if you count this as social media, but that we have a finality, right? Like I went the distance. This was their response. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a crazy world we live in that you have to resort to having to do that just to get an actual response. And that part I get.
Well, I think it's,
there are a lot of people that just don't care. So you push it out to there, and then the good people.
I just want to point out back to the whole, free's not always free. When they literally don't even advertise their phone number, you got to go digging. You got to go work to find out who to actually get to a point where you can call somebody. And then I love this. You start calling in and they're like, yeah, your account's not of a certain status that we can talk to you on the phone. Please submit it through the online website. Swear to God. I called back 10 times and finally got somebody. Like,
so the moral of this story, George, for anybody that's looking at a new company or a new service or whatever, try their support line first before you buy.
Might not be a bad idea.
Call and then call it and actually see what you get for people who answer the phone. That's actually a good. I just learned that right now, George. Just thought of that right now. I think that's because I've been burned by that a few times where I call support and nobody's answering the phone and there's nothing going on.
It may actually be a sales tactic for MSPs. Hey, let's just go on help desk right now, see what happens.
Right.
I mean,
I love the idea.
You get somebody, is it an answering service? Is it a third party? Does the person talking to you sound like they're talking to you in your own language? I don't know. Just give it a shot, see what happens.
It's funny you say that too, because I was in a BNI group, you know, at BNI, the networking groups, and we did that. That was our commercial. You know how you do a 60 or whatever it is.
30 seconds, second, whatever. Yeah.
They have a 60-second and then they have a 10-minute. Part of the commercial was, I said, look, instead of me sitting here explaining my services, we're going to go through an actual call. And I'd pick up the phone, put them on speaker, and we called the support line and they picked right up. And I said, hey, this is Ken. I'm at a BNI and my system's crashing, and just went through the whole process. And they were like, wow, holy crap. And I said, this is the service you get every single time. So that's actually a good point. And that was probably about 10 years ago.
I bet you that will work today.
Yep, I agree.
Compared to what I just went through, that sounds great. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're back. And we're getting closer to the Channel Strong Tour. I think these guys talked about it last week, but we're building up to that. That's happening next month in Texas and Florida. So keep tuned for that. We do monthly giveaways, by the way, on mspinitiative.com and on social. Free stuff from all the vendors that are participating. You got nothing to lose.
Right.
So stay tuned for those. That happen every month. Some pretty cool stuff being thrown out there. And all of these sessions are recorded. They're all on mspinitiative.com. Next one's coming up Thursday, 1:00 Eastern time, right here. We appreciate you, and hopefully bring you some more Black Cloud stories. Maybe the rest of it.
Maybe we'll have some silver lining stories. How's that?
Take it easy, Ken.
Have a good one, George. Bye.
Right. See ya.